the dragon refused to land. It circled the fractured orbit of the dying station for the third time, wings cutting through vacuum as if space were something it could bruise, and he tightened his grip on the harness with the quiet desperation of someone who had already reconsidered every life choice that led him here. The navigation panel blinked uselessly beside him, projecting 12 different safe trajectories, all of which the dragon ignored with dignified contempt. "I am asking politely," he said, leaning forward, as if politeness had ever influenced a creature that once bit a comet out of curiosity. "We land, we leave, nobody gets dramatically vaporized." The dragon snorted, a pulse of blue plasma rippling along its throat, which he chose to interpret as disagreement. Below them, the station hung in pieces, its outer ring shattered, debris drifting like a slow-motion explosion that hadn't decided whether to end. Signals screamed through his console, distress beacons layered under encrypted warnings, most of them helpfully labeled in languages he did not speak. One of them pulsed brighter than the rest, not louder, not clearer, just insistent. It had the tone of someone who expected to be heard. "That one," he muttered, tapping the projection. "We check that one and then we go somewhere significantly less suicidal." The dragon folded one wing without warning. He did not scream. He considered it briefly, but settled for a very controlled, very dignified "oh no" as they dropped through a cloud of shattered metal. Gravity generators flickered below, catching them in uneven pulls, dragging the dragon into a spiraling descent that ended with a collision that was only slightly less catastrophic than it could have been. They landed sideways. He hung there for a moment, upside down, staring at the fractured corridor beneath him as dust and sparks drifted upward, downward. He was no longer entirely sure. The dragon shifted, unimpressed with the concept of orientation, and he unhooked himself, dropping to the floor with a grunt. "I'd like to point out," he said, brushing debris off his jacket, "that was not landing. That was an argument with gravity that we lost." The dragon blinked slowly. "Good talk." The corridor ahead flickered with failing light. The distress signal pulsed stronger now, guiding him deeper into the station's broken interior. He moved carefully, stepping over torn panels and exposed wiring, trying not to think about the parts of the structure that were no longer attached to anything at all. Somewhere in the distance, something groaned, a long, metallic sound that suggested the station was still deciding whether to stay in one piece. He followed the signal to a sealed chamber. The door was intact, which felt suspicious. Everything else had been torn open, scattered, or set on fire, but this door stood untouched, smooth and unyielding, its surface etched with patterns that shifted subtly as he looked at them. "Of course," he murmured, "the one door that matters is the one that doesn't want me involved." He placed a hand against it. The patterns stilled. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the door slid open with a quiet precision that felt entirely out of place in the wreckage around it. Inside, the air was still. She stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by faint, hovering light that bent toward her as if it recognized something he didn't. At first glance, she looked human, poised, composed, untouched by the chaos outside. Then she turned slightly, and the illusion broke just enough. Her ears, long and elegant, curved back along her head, catching the light in a way that made them impossible to ignore. They moved subtly, reacting to him, to the distant groan of the station, to something deeper he couldn't name. Her gaze settled on him, not surprised, not relieved, just assessing. He raised a hand in what he hoped was a reassuring gesture. "Hi," he said. "This is going to sound strange, but I think I accidentally rescued you." She did not answer immediately, which he decided was fair. If a stranger walked into a sealed chamber during a catastrophic orbital collapse and opened with that sentence, silence was a reasonable response. Her eyes narrowed slightly, studying him with a precision that made him feel like an equation she had not yet decided to solve. One of her long ears tilted, then stilled again, as if it had heard something beyond the limits of the room. "You are not part of the extraction fleet," she said at last, her voice calm, controlled, and carrying a faint resonance, like it belonged in a larger space than the one they stood in. "I am not part of any fleet," he replied. "I'm barely part of a plan." Her gaze flicked past him, toward the open doorway, where distant tremors shivered through the corridor. "Then your presence here is either a mistake or a disruption." "I get that a lot," he said, "mostly the mistake part." A low, distant impact echoed through the station, closer this time. The lights dimmed, then surged back unevenly. He gestured vaguely toward the corridor. Good news is, whatever was trying to destroy this place is still very committed. Bad news is, we should probably not be here when it succeeds. She took a step forward, and the light around her shifted with her movement, subtle but undeniable. You do not understand what is happening. That is correct, he said. But I do understand imminent structural failure, and we are currently inside it. Another impact, sharper now. The floor tilted a fraction, enough to send a loose panel sliding across the room. Her ears twitched again, sharper this time. They have found me. Great, he said. I was worried we might leave without being chased. She looked at him again, more directly now. If I leave with you, it will not end here. You will be pursued, your vessel will be targeted. Your world, if you have one, may become involved. He considered that for exactly 1 second. In my defense, I already flew into a collapsing station because my dragon liked a signal. I think we passed good decisions a while ago. Dragon, she repeated, as if testing the word for structural integrity. Long story, he said. Very bitey. Another tremor, this one stronger. A section of the ceiling cracked, a thin line racing across it like a warning written too late. She exhaled, steady and controlled. Then we are already out of time. Finally, something we agree on. They moved together toward the corridor, her pace measured. His slightly faster in the way of someone trying not to panic, but willing to consider it as a backup plan. The station groaned again, louder now, the sound of something massive giving way. As they reached the doorway, she stopped. He almost walked into her. Any particular reason we're pausing in the collapsing structure? Her gaze lifted slightly, unfocused, as if she were listening to something he couldn't hear. They are adjusting their approach vectors. Of course they are, he said. Wouldn't want the apocalypse to be inefficient. She looked at him, and for the first time there was something like curiosity in her expression. You respond to danger with humor. I respond to everything with humor, he said. It's a deeply questionable survival mechanism. Another impact closer, followed by the distant sound of something tearing free. He gestured urgently. We can analyze my coping strategies later. Right now, we run. This time, she did not argue. They moved through the corridor as the station began to fail in earnest, gravity flickering, walls shifting with low, grinding protests. He led the way back toward the jagged opening where the dragon waited, hoping it was still there and had not decided to explore another disaster out of curiosity. Just so we're clear, he said over his shoulder, the exit involves a creature that does not respect physics. I have already adjusted my expectations, she replied. That's good, he said, because I have not. They reached the opening just as a section of the station behind them collapsed inward, the shockwave pushing them forward. The dragon stood where he had left it, wings partially extended, eyes bright with something that looked suspiciously like excitement. See, he said, breathless, reliable. The dragon huffed, relatively reliable. He turned to her, offering a hand without thinking. We leave now, or we become part of the scenery. She looked at his hand, then at him, then placed her own in it. Her grip was steady. Very well, she said. Let us see how far your mistake can carry us. Hey, he said, pulling her toward the dragon. I prefer the term unexpected development. Behind them, the station finally began to come apart. The dragon leapt before the station finished collapsing, as if it preferred dramatic timing over basic survival logic. For a brief moment, there was nothing beneath them but a widening fracture of metal and light. Then the creature's wings cut through vacuum, and they were thrown forward into open space, chased by the silent bloom of the station, tearing itself apart. He held on with one hand and gestured vaguely with the other. And that, he said, is why I don't do rescues. You did not have to come, she replied, though her voice carried less resistance now. I know, he said. That's the worrying part. Behind them, debris scattered into orbit, but ahead, the stars shifted. Not literally, he hoped, but something about the space in front of them felt crowded. His console flickered back to life, alarms stacking faster than he could read them. Good news, he said. We are no longer the only ones here. Shapes emerged from the dark, ships, dozens of them, then more, forming a blockade that stretched like a wall across the stars. Their hulls gleamed with a symmetry that felt deliberate, ancient, and very, very unfriendly. She straightened slightly behind him. He felt it more than saw it, the change in her presence, the way the air itself seemed to settle around her. They have come sooner than expected, she said. Who is they, exactly? He asked. Because I'm currently hoping it's a welcoming committee with extremely poor communication skills. They are the balance, she said, or what remains of it. That is not reassuring. The ships shifted, aligning, weapons charging with a quiet precision that made his skin crawl. A single signal cut through the noise, clear and undeniable. Surrender. He glanced back at her. I assume that's not a friendly suggestion. If I return with them, she said, the conflict may be contained. And if you do, her silence answered him. He exhaled slowly. Right, galaxy-wide war, of course it is. The dragon rumbled beneath them, a low vibration that felt less like fear and more like anticipation. He patted its neck. No, he said quietly. We are not fighting an entire fleet. That is where I draw the line. A very firm, very sensible line. The dragon ignored him. Of course you do. He looked at the ships again, then at her. You said this is about balance, that you being here with me breaks it. Yes. Why? She hesitated just for a moment. Then, because I am not meant to choose. He frowned. Choose what? You, she said simply. That landed harder than any impact. He let out a short breath, something almost like a laugh. That seems like a design flaw. It is a law, she corrected. Same thing, he muttered. The signal pulsed again. Surrender. He looked at the fleet, at the impossible scale of it, then down at the dragon, who was already angling forward, ready to do something profoundly unwise. Then he sighed. All right, he said, new plan. She studied him. You have one. No, he said, but I am going to make one very quickly. He leaned forward slightly. You said you're part of this balance, that everything depends on you not choosing. Yes. And what happens if the system is wrong? He asked. If the balance isn't balance, just control dressed up nicely. She did not answer. Because from where I'm sitting, he continued. An entire fleet showing up to force one person into a decision, they didn't make sounds less like balance and more like panic. The dragon let out a low, approving growl. He took that as encouragement, possibly a mistake. He turned back to the fleet, raising his voice as if they could hear him, which, given recent events, they probably could. I have a counteroffer, he said. You all go home, reconsider your life choices, and stop trying to start a war over something you clearly don't understand. There was a pause, then the weapons charged further. Worth a try, he muttered. He glanced back at her. You said you're not meant to choose. Yes. He smiled slightly, something steadier now. Then don't. Before she could respond, he shifted his grip and gave the dragon a single, decisive signal. They didn't attack. They moved. Not forward, not into the fleet, but between the ships. Through them, threading a path that should not have existed. The dragon twisted through impossible gaps, slipping past targeting locks before they could settle, its movement erratic, unpredictable, alive in a way the ships were not. What are you doing? She asked, her voice tighter now. Not choosing, he said. You don't belong to them, you don't belong to me, so we stop playing by their rules. The fleet reacted, formations breaking, trying to adjust, but too late, too rigid. They burst through the blockade. For a moment, nothing followed. Then, slowly, the ships powered down. No pursuit. No attack, just stillness. He blinked. Huh, he said. That worked better than expected. She was quiet behind him. After a moment, she spoke. You changed the outcome. I got lucky, he said. No, she replied. You chose differently. He considered that, then shrugged lightly. Yeah, well, someone had to. The dragon leveled out, the stars stretching calmly ahead of them now, no longer blocked, no longer threatened. He adjusted his grip, more relaxed this time. So, he said, what happens now? She looked out into the open expanse, her ears tilting slightly, not tense this time, but curious. I decide, she said. He smiled faintly. That sounds dangerously like freedom. It is, she said. He nodded, then glanced down at the dragon. Just to be clear, he added, next time we see a mysterious signal in a collapsing structure, we ignore it. The dragon huffed, she almost smiled. And this time she didn't hide it. They did not go far at first. Not because they couldn't, but because neither of them seemed entirely certain what far meant anymore. The dragon drifted between stars with an ease that felt almost intentional now, no longer fighting direction, just choosing it when it mattered. He noticed that. He noticed a lot of things he hadn't before. Just so we're clear, he said, adjusting the harness with a familiarity that would have terrified his past self. This is the part where everything calms down and nothing tries to destroy us for at least a few hours. That assumption lacks evidence, she replied. Let me have this, he said. It's called optimism, very rare condition. She glanced at him, her long ears tilting slightly, not in tension, but in something closer to ease. You are different. Yeah, he said. Near-death experiences tend to do that, builds character, also bad habits. You are not avoiding the signal fields anymore, she said. He paused, then looked at the console. It was true. The drifting echoes of distant transmissions, fractured calls, forgotten routes, quiet anomalies, no longer made him uneasy. He wasn't steering away from them. I guess I stopped assuming every unknown thing is a bad idea, he said. Then he added, most of them still are, I'm just selective now. The dragon gave a low rumble, as if in agreement. Don't encourage me, he muttered. Ahead, a faint structure began to form in the distance, not a station, not a fleet, something quieter. A convergence point where old travel lines intersected and no one claimed ownership anymore. No signals of war, no demands. She watched it carefully. This place exists outside their control. Good, he said. I'm developing a strong dislike for their control. The dragon descended slowly, this time without protest, without chaos. A clean landing, he blinked. You did that on purpose, he said. The dragon blinked back. I'm proud of you, he added, then paused. This is concerning. I am bonding with a creature that once tried to eat a navigation satellite. It still might, she said. Fair. They stepped down together. The ground, if it could be called that, held steady beneath them, a rare and welcome change. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she moved forward, just slightly, her gaze fixed on the open space ahead, as if seeing something beyond it. I can feel it, she said. The balance, it is still there. He crossed his arms lightly. But it's not controlling you anymore. No, she said, it is adjusting. He smiled faintly. Good, it needed that. She turned to him then, fully this time. No hesitation, no distance. You disrupted something ancient, she said. Yeah, he replied. I'm getting that a lot. And yet, she continued, you did not replace it, you did not claim it. He shrugged, didn't seem like my place. She studied him for a moment longer, then nodded once, as if confirming something only she could measure. Then it will endure, she said. He exhaled, a quiet release he hadn't realized he was holding. So, no war. No war, she said. He looked up at the stars, then back at her. That might be the first good outcome I've accidentally caused. It was not an accident, she said. He smirked slightly. Let me keep pretending, it helps with the pressure. She almost laughed, this time it wasn't hidden at all. Silence settled again, but it wasn't empty. It felt complete. After a moment, he shifted, glancing toward the dragon, then back at her. So what now? He asked. You decide, right? Yes, she said, and. She stepped closer, her presence steady, unguarded now. I decide to remain. He blinked, here. She shook her head slightly. With you. He stared at her for a second, then let out a quiet breath, something between disbelief and acceptance. You know, he said, this is the part where a smarter person would say something meaningful. And you? She asked. I'm working up to it, he said. Give me a minute. The dragon snorted softly behind them. He glanced back, not helping. Then he looked at her again, more certain this time. All right, he said, we don't have a plan. We don't have a map. And based on experience, we're probably going to get into trouble again. That is likely, she agreed. He smiled. Good, I'd hate for things to get predictable. She tilted her head slightly. You prefer uncertainty. I prefer choice, he said. She held his gaze for a moment, then nodded. Then we begin there. He turned, climbing back onto the dragon with practiced ease now, no hesitation left. He offered his hand again, but this time it wasn't uncertain. It was expected. She took it. The dragon shifted beneath them, wings unfolding, not in defiance this time, but in readiness. He glanced once more at the quiet expanse around them, then forward into everything that hadn't happened yet. All right, he said. Let's go make some more extremely questionable decisions. The dragon leapt, and this time, he didn't hold on out of fear.